Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am coming to you today. Let me zoom out a little bit. I am coming to you today from my other desk where I do more of my traditional journaling, less art journaling. And I wanted to do a creative spread in my traveler's notebook. One fun thing that I do in my traveler's notebook is I usually include a drawing of some kind. It gives me a chance to practice drawing characters, which is like one of my favorite things to draw. And so that's kind of what I'm gonna take you guys along for today. I was reading a book recently. It was a book I bought a long time ago when I was like trying to get into drawing and it didn't stick for some reason. But it was talking about using hearts for body shapes and head face shapes when you are drawing characters. And so that's what I'm utilizing a little bit here. If you know, you can flip the heart upside down or right side up. Anyways, I had a week. If you're on my Instagram, you know I had a week where I did a lot of painting. And I actually posted a couple paintings in my Etsy shop, which is new for me. And it was really therapeutic. My last video talked about how I was dealing with a depressive episode, and painting definitely helped me this time around. Another thing that's helped is I've been slowly decluttering my office. This desk here that I'm at right now is actually in my living room, and it's the one that I'm able to work at, like, you know, when my kids are up and playing and, you know, we're just having a quiet day inside. And so I have an office with like a writing desk and an art desk, and I went through a little phase, or not really a little phase. I went through a couple years where I was really trying to I don't want to say find my passion, because I found a lot of things that I enjoyed doing, but I was trying to really like find a hobby that like spoke to me, more so than crochet. I enjoy crochet, but it is one of those things that I can like only do so much of. And I also tried to start selling stuff. I got stuck making things that I didn't particularly like. And so it just ended up not being a very fun hobby for a while. And so ultimately, as you know, I got led to journaling, but I went through this period of time where I was searching for a hobby, which meant that I was buying a lot of craft supplies that have since just been sitting in my office. You know, I actually sent my needle felting materials to a friend of mine who has since gotten into it. And I just, being in my office, it has turned into kind of a depressing time in and of itself, because I'm constantly surrounded by like all of these craft supplies that I found myself not being able to get rid of because I spent money on them, and it felt like wasteful to spend money on them and then just to give them away. And you know, after a little pep talk from my husband, who is definitely a lot neater than I am, I found that I just needed to like get it over with. And so that's kind of what I'm doing. And it's not been easy. I've been getting rid of like bags of things at a time. I've been donating a lot of it because like what else am I supposed to do? I try to gift it to people if I'm able to. I have a rigid heddle loom that I just don't have the patience to warp. I don't like that. That I just don't have the patience to warp, and so I think I'm going to try to sell that locally. And that clears up some space, and it also helps me take pressure off myself to feel like I have to use things that don't bring me joy. You know, obviously it would have probably been preferred if I hadn't spent a bunch of money on all this stuff, and I definitely have an amount of privilege because I was able to just spend money on it, and ultimately on stuff that I ended up not using very much of. And so one of the things I try to do is, like, if I know somebody who could use it, I try to give it away, or, you know, at a very discounted price. In the case of my loom, which, you know, was very expensive, but it's done wonders for my mental health because I have focused on only keeping things that I know I can use, that I know will bring me joy. I guess that's like a Marie Kondo. I never read that book, but yeah, so that has also been helping with my mental health. And after a week of painting and cleaning up and kind of trying to get rid of some clutter, I found myself back at my traveler's notebook, which I usually do. But there are some times where it's just not, it is not the activity that I need to be doing. And last week, what I found myself wanting to do was like messy painting, and that's what I did. I worked on a lot of abstract projects. And it just made things, I don't know, it kind of helped me work, you know, the mess in my head I was able to get out on paper, and that kind of helped. So one of the things that I've recently decided, and so I'm sitting here talking about tidying up and getting rid of things that I no longer use, and one of the things that I am starting to kind of flirt with is, you know, investing in a full-on sewing machine. I have been getting a lot of synchronicities lately about making clothes and fashion design. Fun fact, other than being a writer, the only other thing that I wanted to be as a kid was a fashion designer, and I thought because I couldn't figure out how to sew, I wasn't very good at teaching myself how to do stuff as a kid. And because I couldn't figure out how to sew, and because I wasn't any good at drawing, I figured that I couldn't design, and I couldn't, like, pursue that, so I didn't. And obviously part of my journey this year has been unlearning some of that inner narrative. And so I was talking to my husband yesterday because the kids were with Grandma and Grandpa, so we had a little date day and game night with our friends. And when we were out together, he was like, you always come back to the idea of like making clothes and trying to, you know, design stuff. He's like, I don't know, once you get your office decluttered and, you know, you save up a little bit of money, you could probably just get a sewing machine. And that would, I think that would make you really happy and be something that you enjoy doing. And I think that he's right. And then we actually went to Barnes & Noble as part of our date, and we were looking in the travel section, and I actually saw we were in the traveling section. It was like a section with a display with a bunch of maps. And somebody had gotten like a modern guide to classic sewing, which, you know, that was not the section for it. And it was just sticking it out there with all of the maps, like facing forward right in front of my face. And I was like, okay. I didn't end up buying the book. I took a picture of it so that I would remember it. And I decided that this is like the next thing I'm going to try to learn. I also really like junk, like with the junk journal aesthetics. I really like the look of like when you sew a tag or whatever. I got a hand stitcher for Christmas that I was trying to learn, and I think that I mastered it. The only problem is that I can't seem to get the tension down. So, unfortunately, that's where I left off. So, in the interim, one of the things that I wanted to do was design more characters with like more fun outfits. And one of the outfits that I've really been loving lately, I think I'm just gonna do her hands like normal because like I don't like the way that this is looking. One of the things that I've really been loving is, you know, designing fun characters with little outfits. And I really like, I call them June Cleaver dresses. They're kind of like old-fashioned vintage dresses. They're really fun to design, and they're really fun to dress up in, and I don't have as many as I used to, but this is like one of my favorite things to wear, is like these old-fashioned whatever styles. And so I think back in the day I used to shop a lot at ModCloth. And since I'm a bigger person, it's actually like astounding because I don't think they used to offer super diverse sizing. I don't think it was like very size inclusive because I'm talking like early 2000s. But until I get my sewing machine, and probably after, I decided one of the things that I can do here in my traveler's notebook when I do my creative journaling is like draw a little character, you know. And I really like the old-fashioned like loafer shoes, which is kind of what I drew here. And this is one of kind of like an like a button-down dress. It reminds me of like an old-fashioned waitress uniform. So I don't know, but it's lots of fun. It helps me get out of my box. And I have found with my drawing that my favorite thing to draw is characters. You know, drawing specifically women or female presenting characters. I guess almost self-portraits. I draw my daughter a lot too. I've drawn my son and my husband, but I do have a harder time drawing like, I guess, more masculine features or male presenting features. But I work on that also. I actually, while we hosted a game night last night, and one of the things that I did was I drew our friends while we were playing Yahtzee. And so that's what I did while I was like waiting between turns, was practice sketching out everybody's faces, which I think I did a better job than I originally thought that I would. But I'm also, again, trying to not be very judgmental and just drawing because it's fun, and drawing because it's a way of memory keeping, and drawing because honestly, I used to enjoy drawing when I was a kid, and the only reason I stopped is because I had this warped idea that because I wasn't quote-unquote good, by whose standards I don't really know, that I couldn't keep drawing, that there was no point in me to continue drawing. And I actually don't think that I was, like, subjectively, I don't think it was that I was a bad artist. You know, I just needed practice. There's a quote I don't know who it's by, but I know there's a sound on Instagram that has gone around where they're talking about the only difference between like you and a creative person is the fact that they had the audacity to not stop making art, where they just kept working at it. And I do think that that's true to a certain extent. Yeah, certain people have more, like, if you want to look at it as like God-given talent. You know, people pick up stuff quicker. Just like, you know, I'm a fast reader. My husband is really good at like math and science and understanding those types of things. And I think that, you know, there are people who are naturally talented at stuff. But one of the things that I've come around to this year and this past year in my like exploration of creativity and art and just playing around with things that I gave up a long time ago is that, you know, if you work at something and you show up every day and you have that consistency, then you know, you can get to a level where you're making work that you're proud of. And even not, if you enjoy the process, you should be doing it anyways, you know? So that's kind of why I like to show up and draw in this journal specifically. I also draw in my Moleskine Expanded, but this is one of my inserts in my traveler's notebook. I usually do my like creative journaling spreads, where I do make the spreads that are a little bit more like aesthetic and like on purpose. Whereas my Moleskine is just like gluing and pasting things down and writing and drawing in whatever order I see fit. So I will do a flip through of this like whenever this insert is complete, so you guys can see. I've shared a lot of the pages on Instagram. I'll do some yellow shoes, that'll be fun. I have yellow sandals on right now, but I don't have yellow boots. Maybe that's something I can find this year. Another thing that I've been challenging myself to do is to be more adventurous fashion-wise, because that is something I did when I was a kid. I really enjoyed dressing in like funky clothes, bright, colorful clothes, dresses, bibs, overalls, things that, you know, I grew up in the early 2000s. I think I already told you guys that. And, you know, that's when like things, at least in my area, things like Abercrombie and Fitch and American Eagle and Aeropostale were like the things that kids were wearing. So it was, you know, I was reading magazines like Teen Vogue and watching movies like Pretty in Pink. That's my favorite, one of my favorite movies of all time. And seeing all the fun, funky, like unique clothes that these girls had. And living in rural Illinois, I didn't really know how to go about finding them. We didn't have a lot of selection as far as vintage shops. And I will say that, you know, being a bigger person, I have a hard time finding things in vintage shops that fit me all the time. So it wasn't always an option for me, and it wasn't something that I was fully aware of. And obviously, I've learned a lot more tricks over the years, but, you know, I think I shopped at like Wet Seal and Limited too, and that was kind of like as funky as I got. I know the dimensions are off on her. I don't really draw proportionally all the time, because I'm not really interested in like technical art. I'm just interested in making fun drawings that I like to look at. I like that the colors of her dress kind of remind me of the 90s. That like weird pastel color that was like I don't know if you ever went to Taco Bell in the 90s, but that's kind of what it reminds me of. Anyways, yeah, I didn't really know what I was doing a lot when it came to like finding clothes and dressing myself. I shopped at Limited Too and I bought some more of their like outlandish clothes compared to some of my peers. And you know, by the time I got to junior high, that was like in 5th and 6th grade. By the time I got to junior high, you know, I was also shopping at American Eagle, and I don't think I ever shopped at Abercrombie and Fitch. Like I said, I've never been like a super skinny person, and that just never seemed to fit me. So there's my little character design. And now I have some printables that I cut out. I have some from Pocket Journal Pam, Loveland's Life, and Jenny May June, and some random leftover ephemera from like mail and whatnot. So I'm gonna make myself a little journal spread, and I wanted to take you guys along for that also. I will tag creators below whose stuff that I use in the description. I think everyone I mentioned, I think, has a YouTube channel. And these were all got when I was able to be a part of their Patreons. So definitely go check them out if you have the chance. I last fall had to like pretty much stop being involved in Patreon for a little while, and I never really resubscribed to anybody's just because financially we were having to slow down a little bit. You know, we didn't do big Christmases or anything. We just had a lot of stuff coming up last year. And anyways, but when I was a part of, when I was subscribed to some of the Patreons, I printed out a lot of printables, and I recently found them. I had tucked them into one of my tote bags, and with the intention of using them in this journal, and then in the chaos of life and Christmas and the holidays, I lost them. So, but I highly suggest going and checking out some of these creators because they have really fun stuff available. If you aren't aware, I actually have been playing on my new iPad that I got recently, and I uploaded a test printable into my Patreon that is actually available for free, even if you are not a subscriber. So it's like a test printable. I'm like literally just playing around and trying to learn Procreate at this point in time. So you are welcome to go print that out. If you do and you make a journal spread, you can tag me here on YouTube or on Instagram. It's really cool to see how people use that stuff in their journal spreads. Yeah, so, ooh. Anyways, I think that I'm going to try to work later today on some more printable designs and just play around with that. You know, my kids will get home a little bit later today. And another thing I'm going to do is sit down and calculate all of the entries for my giveaway I had on Instagram and announce the winner over there. So if you are a person who entered, be sure to check that out. I think it ended on Wednesday, and I just have not had a time to sit down and double check all the entries and make sure that I had everything counted before I drew the winner. So I waited until this weekend. We ended up hosting game night last night, which kind of led to me not doing everything I had initially planned. But it was nice because, you know, I am a stay-at-home mom and I don't get a lot of grown-up interaction all the time. And we have been wanting to host a game night since we moved into this house over a year ago, and it just happened. So it ended up being a nice little day. So I don't really have like a method here, other than just filling space, really. I like to kind of like do like a maximalist approach where I really like fill in with color and with pictures and patterns. You know, I like this to be a place that I can go for inspiration. You know, when I have a week like this where I'm not writing a lot and I'm having a hard time showing up, I can like just flip through my journal, and like the colors and the pictures and everything really make for, I don't know, it puts a smile on my face. And it's therapeutic to do it. It's fun to look at. It's fun to share it with everybody online and connect with community. So this is one of my favorite types of journaling to do, and it's actually kind of how I got started journaling. I don't think I'm going to do that. Okay, so I've got this. I've got some stickers that I think I will try to use. Some funky stickers, and I actually share these with my kiddos because they're like sticker books that I got from Target. And you know, my kids have gotten to gone through little phases here and there where they will ask for a notebook, and like pin things down with me, paste things down, play with stickers, things like that. And so it's nice to have a couple sticker books on hand to pull out for them that I'm okay with them playing with. There are some sticker sheets that I order from like smaller creators that I'm not as willing to share. But you know, I have a 2 and a 4-year-old. I actually almost have a 3 and a 4-year-old. So not really looking to share some of my more expensive stickers, but you know, I always get pretty excited when they show interest in journaling and doing stuff like this. And some of these just have some like fun cartoony stickers that I probably, like if I saw a sticker sheet with them, I probably wouldn't pick them out objectively, but like this is Pip Sticks. But they're, you know, they're fun and colorful, and that's really all that matters. We love mushrooms, so I gotta put a mushroom in there. I love this little cat house here by Pocket Journal Pam. One of the things that I've really been into drawing lately is houses. And I think I'm gonna, like the next printable I release that might be only for patrons, will have houses in it, I believe. So, I also have my tarot forecast for the week coming out today. So if you haven't, you can go down to the description and follow the link to my Patreon if that is something you'd be interested in. The tarot forecast and the printables will be available to everybody, tiers, starting at the tier for $3.33 a month. And like you get 4 weekly tarot forecasts, collective readings with journal prompts and activities and affirmations that I write up every Sunday. And then you know, I'm also going to start including printables in that. So I feel like you get a lot of bang for your buck. So I invite you guys to come check that out if that feels right for you. I also have a new zine that has come out. It's called Unicorn Tears. It's a poetry zine. It is mini zine, so it's for sale in my Etsy shop right now for only $3.33. That's my favorite thing to charge for, favorite number to charge for things, because it is a repeating number that shows up for me a lot. I also uploaded some paintings and trash art into my Etsy shop this week, and some art journal cards. So the link for that is also below. And if you purchase, know that you will be contributing to my sewing machine fund. So it is highly appreciated. Okay, so now I want, I think I want one more little sticker there. And I always like to write myself a little positive note in these journal spreads. Kind of like a message, a self-reminder. Of things that, you know, are sometimes difficult to remember. So what did we talk about today? I used to not do fancy lettering. This is not fancy, by the way. I shouldn't say that. But I used to not do, you know, like bubble lettering or whatever, because I felt like it wasn't pretty enough. I can't do the calligraphy lettering. I'm not good with the brush pens, and, you know, part of like healing from my perfectionist tendencies is doing it anyways, even though it's not perfect, even though it's a little messy. I kind of lucked out. I really like the messy look. I like when it looks a little funky. So I'm able to just create stuff, and if I don't like it, then I can just move on. And I still usually share it anyways, because like I said, it's good for me to show up for community. I don't have a lot of friends in real life, you know, and I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I don't get out a lot. And so sharing helps me connect with all of you, and that makes it worth it. Okay. So I talked today a little bit about consistency and showing up, not letting that little inner critic get the best of you and convince you that it's not worth showing up on the page, showing up for yourself. And so just show up feels like a good reminder to write on this page, so that when I don't feel like I can show up and I flip through this page, I see it and I remember that, you know, eventually I will feel like showing up. And when I do, it'll bring me joy. So I think that is all that I have for you guys. That is my finished spread. Nothing fancy. I might add a little bit of color here. One of my favorite things to do when I've got some blank space is to add squiggle marks. It just adds a little bit of interest to the page. So yeah, hit the subscribe button. I'm probably going to be sharing a little bit more this week because I have been feeling better. Go check out everything in the description that I mentioned, and check out the creators whose links I will share below. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week and happy journaling. Okay, bye.